What is up, guys? It's Dan the Man, and today I'm back with Chess Zone's July Action Tournament. And going into round two, I have a score of 1 out of 1. We got a very poorly played win against Scott Pritchard, where I absolutely did not deserve to win that game. It was pretty bad. So if you want to go and look at that game, go ahead. I recommend doing so. And I was feeling really relieved after winning that game from pure luck from Divinity, Chess Divinity. And for round two, I'm paired against Christopher Harris, rated 1972 at the time. I've played him one other time on the channel. I think it was like one of my first videos ever made. And I knew that he was a long thinker. He spends a long time on his moves, like probably 5-6 minutes per turn on average. And the thing with him is that you build up a really big time advantage against him, and then when he's on the verge of flagging with like under 5 minutes, he starts playing like a machine, like starts playing really quickly, and somehow rumor has it that he plays better under time pressure. So I was gonna see if that was the case today. I last played him like 2 years ago when that video was made on my channel, so I wanted to see if things have changed since before. So I have the white pieces, and Christopher has the black pieces, and this game is much cleaner and much better quality than the first game. So if you're interested in like high quality chess with no blunders, you come to the right place. So let's go ahead and jump into the game here. So here I start the game off with e4, and Chris goes with c6, going into the Caro-Kann defense, which is what he played against me last time when I rewatched my video. He played c6, so he's being consistent with his opening repertoire. I go with d4, he goes d5, knight c3, d captures on e4, knight captures on e4. He goes with knight f6. This is all what he used to play against me in that video. Knight takes f6 check, e takes f6, knight f3, bishop to d6, bishop d3, castles, castles, and bishop to g4. This is completely identical to what he did in that video. So nothing about him has changed at all. He hasn't had any change in his preferences for what he likes to play over the board. So seems that he's a big fan of the Caro. So after bishop g4, I think I played h3 in that video, but here I decided to go with rook e1. And here he was already starting to, use his time to contemplate on what he'll do. Like here, if I were playing with the black pieces, I wouldn't really think for too long because it's still pretty early in the game. This position is pretty playable. There's a lot of options for you. So I guess he just likes to think a lot. So which I can't complain. So after rook e1, he plays bishop c7, which is not one of the moves I'd do. I'd play a more traditional rook e8, knight d7 kind of stuff. But bishop c7 is not bad because maybe in the future you're trying to put the queen on d6 and threaten some sort of battery after you take my knight on f3. So this made some sense. So bishop c7. Here I go with c3 because his idea was to, of course, take the knight and then take on d4. So in the future, he couldn't do it now because there would be bishop h7 check. But I'd do it preventatively. And here with c3, I had 58 minutes. And after queen d6, Christopher is already down to 52 minutes. So already I have like a 6-7, no need for the meme, time advantage, 6-7 minute time advantage because of his playing style. So here, after queen d6, here I go with g3 just to shut down the battery, and also trying to go with bishop to f4 to trade off the bishop if he lets me. Engine slightly prefers h3. But g3 is fine as well. Maybe in the future I'll play bishop f1 to bishop g2 and sort of fianchetto in a way. So here he plays the move queen d5, just adding some pressure to the knight. And here I think about how to defend. I was thinking about king g2 as a possibility, which is fine. I was also thinking bishop e4 to attack the queen and defend, and also what I did was bishop e2. I didn't like bishop e4 because after queen h5, you have to constantly be worried about f5, which would lose a piece for white because the bishop would have to move, and then you'd take an f3. So that's just a constant problem, and you can already see that the engine prefers black here. And it gets complicated for absolutely no reason, so didn't have to do that. King g2 and bishop e2 are much better. I thought bishop e2 was better than king g2 because maybe you're wanting to offer a trade, since that pin is kind of annoying. So after bishop to e2, here Christopher plays knight d7. Here I go with knight h4 to offer the trade. And here he's spending, again, like a few minutes per turn. He plays, after some time, bishop takes e2, queen takes e2. And here, this is kind of interesting. Stockfish is suggesting to play rook f e8 and give up the 2 rooks for the queen, which is kind of strange. If you guys can see that top line right there, I don't think someone would go into that. So here he played the move rook f to d8, which makes more sense. But I thought he maybe would put the a rook there, because that way the a rook's not like restricted. But this move is fine too. And here, I start to think about what to do. I notice black's queen's kind of centralized. I maybe want to trade it off. Maybe I do some more natural development with bishop to e3. Maybe I go knight g2, knight e3 to reposition. So I was thinking about what to do as my plan. So I was starting to slow down, but not nearly to the same extent as Christopher. So after maybe like 2 or 3 minutes, I can't really remember, but I didn't move immediately. So after some time, I played queen f3, offering a queen trade. And again, Christopher spent a lot of time here about what to do. And eventually, he decided to trade queens on f3. And after knight takes f3, the time gap has widened significantly. At this point, I had 49 minutes, and Christopher had 27. So a substantial time advantage, but position is drawn, so it's not really like a huge deal. If it was more complicated, the time advantage would prove to be more favorable for me, but as of now, the time advantage is pleasant, but it's not like, a game-changing, if that makes sense. So knight takes f3, he's just a really slow thinker, that's how he is. So after that, he plays knight f8, I go with b3. The bishop was kind of preventing me from going to f4 because I didn't want to double my pawns. And bishop e3 kind of felt like the wrong place to put it, so I thought maybe putting it on the a3 diagonal would be more optimal. So here he plays rook d7. I go with a4. That way, maybe just gain some queenside space, prevent a future b5, and then you can play bishop a3 next move. So here he goes with knight e6. I go with bishop to a3. And here he plays rook on a to d8, just doubling. And here I really want to go rook a d1 here. But the problem with that is that black always has this annoying c5 resource. And they can always just undermine your pawn. And you can never take because you just pin yourself, so... yeah, like, you don't really want to allow c5 in this position for black. And that's why I don't really put the rooks on the center, the other rook on the center, because black would just thrust with c5 and create some chances in their position. So that's why, I was trying to think about where to put the rooks. Or maybe, bring the king up to g2, king f1, maybe bring the king over. I don't know. So it's, again, very flexible position. Eventually, I settle with rook e3. My idea is to maybe double on the e-file. Here he goes with g6, probably intending to go king g7 to get active, because king f8 is not possible due to my bishop on the long diagonal, so I suppose that was the idea. So after rook a to e1, king g7, the time update has become even more considerable. I have 44 minutes, and Christopher has only 10, so I have 4 times the amount of time he has. Which is pretty sizable. Like, I'd be kind of scared if I were in his shoes. So it's amazing, like, how he can get to such low on time and then start playing really well. So I don't know. Maybe that's just how. Maybe that's his playing style. I don't know. But he only had 10 minutes here. King g7. Here I go with h4. He goes h5, king g2. Again, it's really hard to find a plan here. Everything's sort of closed. Again, I can never go on the d file. I cannot really push any of my pawns effectively. So the position's just very closed. It's not like anything. Both sides don't really have a concrete plan. We're just sort of meandering a little bit. So here he plays a6, probably trying to go b5. I'd go with bishop to b2. I thought the bishop wasn't really doing too much in that diagonal. And maybe I'd pressure along the diagonal with the king, pin this pawn somehow. I don't really know. A lot of trying to create long-term holes in the other person's position, so stuff like that. So here he goes with bishop to b8, which I don't really understand, if I'm being honest with you, but he only has less than 10 minutes here, so he's trying to make something logical. So here I go with b4. He goes b5, and I was happy to see this because at least we open a file of the board, and there's going to be some more action. So here I just transfer my rook to a1. He goes with knight c7, probably intending to plop on d5 and hit my rook. I go with rook, sorry, not rook e1. I go with knight d2, maybe trying to reroute to c5 or b3 c5. So here he goes knight d5, and now I go rook on e to e1. And now the play has sort of transferred to the queen side. That's where more of the action is going to be, and maybe I'll double on the A file as opposed to the E file. So, but again, it's a very speculative position. You're not really committing to anything super decisively here. So after rook to E to E1, Christopher Harris played bishop A7. I went with rook A6. Again, I'm trying to, pressure him on the clock. Some people say that the clock is worth a piece in chess, especially in speed chess. The clock can be used against you. It can be used as a weapon to pressure your opponent. So I was trying to maybe attack things in his position and force him to be careful. So I played rook a6. He defended with bishop to b6. I played knight b3, trying to reroute. He went rook a7, offering a trade. I take the rook. He takes back. I go with knight a5, attacking the pawn on c6. Again, I'm trying to make him air up in the position. So here he goes with rook c8 to defend. I go with rook a1. He goes bishop b6, but he's playing very, very accurately, not letting me make any progress. He goes. I go with knight b3, and here actually black is apparently having a small advantage, but ever so slightly. Here he goes with rook c7. I go with king f3. He goes king f8. I go king e4. King e7, king d3, and here he was probably having like 3 or 4 minutes. Like, this guy spends a lot of time. So if any of you ever play him, know that he's a slow thinker. So after king d3, and he was starting to get nervous. I could see him slightly shaking because I'd be kind of nervous in his shoes with this little time. But he nonetheless, even though he was visibly stressed, he was playing really good moves, so props to him for that. So king d6, knight d2, rook a7 again, and this, I could do a million things. I could trade, I can not trade. So here I go with knight e4 check. He goes king c7. I go with rook e1, rook a2 played. Here I go with king c2, maybe trying to go king b3 or king b1 to kick the rook away, because it is kind of annoying. King d7, f3, I wasn't really sure what that did. Maybe I'm trying to go g4 at some point. It's really kind of hard to find a plan here that makes some sort of progress. Everything's very sort of closed, and there's nothing really happening here. So he goes rook a8. I go king d3. He's playing very accurately with a couple minutes left. Rook e8, bishop c1, f5, and here I'm forced to play knight c5 to not lose material. I could have played knight c5 several times, but I didn't for some reason. I could have, but other moves were just fine as well. I just didn't feel like playing knight c5. Anyway, I have to play it now in order not to lose material, so here I go knight c5 check. Bishop takes, trade the rooks off. King takes e8, and here I take with the b pawn. I thought this was slightly better, maybe trying to go c4 at some point, and just taking towards the center is generally better. So here I go king d7, and here actually c4 is a blunder, and I spot why, because if I go c4 here, this is losing because black has knight b4 check, and the only way to keep defending the pawn on c4 is to go here, but then black can play this, simplify into a king and pawn endgame, and at the end of the day, black's going to put you in zugzwang. Even though it looks like you're getting to the c-pawn, black goes here, you have one last move, and they have one last move, and unfortunately for white, it's their turn right now, and you have to sidestep, and black just wins the game. So I didn't go c4 for that reason, so and there really wasn't any need to, so I went bishop to d2, maybe intending to play it later, because now at least the bishop controls b4. So here I go bishop d2, he goes king e6, I go king e2, knight c7, king d3, king d5, bishop f4, knight e6. Pretty much the rest of the game, we're just going to be moving our pieces back and forth. Knight d8, bishop g5, knight e6. We actually been in this position twice. I think like maybe one or two moves later, I offer him a draw, and he was so bold by saying that he'll think about it, because if I were in his position with like 20 seconds on the clock probably around here, I would be delighted to accept the draw, because why would you risk flagging, right? And there's nothing for you to play for. So he was probably hoping that I'd screw up, which is kind of, kind of bold and very risk-taking. He's probably gambling. But, okay. He declines the draw offer, and we keep shuffling around. So he's trying to create some sort of hole in my position. So he goes with f6. I go f4. I can do a ton of things. And basically all we're going to do is just going to move our bishop and knight respectively. So he tries to create some sort of progress to win my pawns, but everything's defended, everything's solid. Bishop e1, knight h6, bishop d2, knight f7, knight d8, knight b7, knight a5, knight c4. He plays a check. I attack the knight. He has to go back. And here I go with king d3. I was more than happy to draw, but he wasn't budging. He wasn't, offering a draw himself. So I guess, again, more shuffling. And eventually, here I was actually kind of cautious here. I don't want to be put in a place where the knight has to take my bishop. And I'll show you why. Because if I went like bishop c1 here, and black went back to d5, notice here that anywhere I move my bishop, the knight's going to take. And I kind of wasn't sure if I wanted to go into this, if I had blundered the king and pawn endgame. So I always wanted to have a move for my bishop that wouldn't result in the knight taking it. But even here, like, the Stockfish says that bishop e3, even though you can trade the minor pieces off, this is still a drawn endgame, but I wasn't really 100% sure about that, but Stockfish is saying king c4, you defend, black goes b4 to try to damage your pawns, and here you have to take, and here black has to take the d pawn, because if they take the b pawn, white wins with king d3, king b5, and you just advance forward and push black backwards, and you're eventually going to put your king here and play a d5. So that's why they have to play king takes d4 here, and then the only move for you not to lose is b5, and the only move for him not to lose is taking this pawn, and at the end of the day, king c6. This is still a drawn endgame, but why would you go through all that trouble, even if you're not playing for a win? Yeah, just keep the pieces on the board. That was what I was sort of afraid of, so that's why I went bishop f2. I'm just showing the point. He goes knight a5, bishop e1, king d5, bishop d2, knight b7, and here you'd offer to the draw. We both realize that we can only play with our minor pieces for so long before we get, tired of it. So after 75 moves, We get a draw against Christopher Harris, going into the tournament with a score of 1.5 out of 2. And yeah, this game is just one of those games where both of us play like stockfish, and there's not really anything to play for. So we both played at a 97 accuracy, which, yeah, this is a very high quality game. It was nothing like the first one. And even though we didn't win, I'm happy that we both played at the high accuracy, especially him considering the low time he had the whole game. So it was a very good quality game, very, very happy, especially because, he was around my rating. So I wouldn't really, lose points because it wasn't a lower rated person. So yeah, good game overall. Heading into round 3 and 4, and stay around for those games. If you liked the video or noticed something interesting, let me know in the comments. And yeah, stay tuned for the next 2 games I'll post soon. Have a great rest of your day or night. Bye.